Well, everything looked kind of like we saw it last night. It was a wide open game. Both teams, going for it. Uh, Two teams really battling. It was a really physical game. Um, Aggressive in all ways. Special teams was a big matchup we thought we really did well on, that we were really excited about our guys, their attitude and the physicality and the hustle and the execution. The kickers did a great job, and just made for a really even football game. And as the only way we've known how to play these guys is to play right down to the end and try to get it done on the last play of the game, basically. And we're very fortunate that we got a chance to get it done.
AJ.
Hey, Coach. So, can you just kind of give us an all-around injury update on who's in and who's out, and for how long after last night? A little more info.
Yeah.
I can ask you specific names if you need me to, but I'm hoping you can just go over all of them.
Right off the top, both Bruce and Marquise are going to have surgery, and so that means that they will be done for the season. And which is really a big blow, And I know a lot of teams lost players this weekend, but we certainly felt it with both those guys. Both those guys have a lot to offer your team in their attitude and approach and style of play, and so it'll be difficult to replace those guys in that regard. But guys did step up in the game, and will continue to do so. We'll let you know more about how we deal with those the replacements in that later in the week. If I have to. If I don't have to, I won't tell you. But we're going to miss those guys and feel terrible for them. One guy at the start of his career, another guy that's been through a lot of stuff, and Bruce coming back around to us, was really great to have him back. It's such a positive factor and such a great example of what our program is about, and I really loved him on this team. And the other side of it is Marquise just breaking in for the first time and getting it rolling and really making a big splash to start the season off with us. And so guys in different stages of their career, but yet they're both feeling it, and we're feeling the loss. Rasheem Green will be to be evaluated Wednesday. We'll take it one day at a time if he's back or not. I have to wait and see on that one. Philip Dorsett, we're looking to figure out how to work this out. We need to give him a break to make sure that his foot is healed and back. He tried to get back this week to play in this past game and couldn't do it, so we have to give him more time than that, and we have to consider what we're doing with that. We'll let you know more when we have it figured out. Cedric Aboy, he has a chance to get back this week. We got to wait and see how he responds. We'll go all the way, start on Wednesday figuring it out and then working our way through it. He and Rasheem are kind of in the same boat, that we have to wait and see how those guys respond right now. Philip is not part of this game plan coming up. We're going to rest him for sure, at least. Is that about it? Yeah. You saw Dwayne Brown go out, but he did get a look at his foot. And I don't know what the injury is, but he had a sore foot coming out of the game, and I don't know the extent of the injury on that.
So you talked about guys stepping up. Are you also going to look outside the locker room to try and find some replacements? What's your process this week?
Well, we don't ever restrict ourselves, in that regard. We're always looking, and John's guys are on it around the clock, trying to figure out, if there's guys available that could help our our squad. It is different this year in that we have 16 guys, on the practice squad, and so we feel like we have a really good group of guys, but that we can't afford to not look beyond. So we're always constantly doing that. So,
Greg.
What's it going to take for Alton Robinson to get up, or what's been keeping him down so far?
Alton's got to be part of it. He was right at the edge of it. It was the next guy to go in this one. So I can't see how he can't be part of this game plan. I think he's up to take Bruce's place.
And with the personnel you have now at pass rusher, what's left, and what Jamal Adams has been doing blitzing, how big has nickel suddenly become again for this team, just to be in that team and how it's helping?
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we're excited to do here as we unveil our game plans kind of here, to keep moving it around and we have flexibility with some really versatile players, and of course Jamal is one of those guys. So it's a little bit different year for us. kind of fun to keep finding ways to do stuff with our guys that are that are available to us. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we're going to keep working on it. Probably wasn't even close, right, Greg? Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah, Pete. What did you think of Ugo Amadi when he had to step in last night?
He did well. He did a nice job. He really was active. He's ever since he's been on the field for us in special teams and when he plays, he shows up, and he's got a great burst to get to the ball and very active football player. He just missed breaking that pass up. I mean, really, he had his hand on the ball and didn't get the ball knocked out on a third down. I think third down win. He's way ahead of where he was last year when he was just barely getting going, and so as he comes back to us, we won't have any restrictions on what we can do, and we look forward to his input. We need him to step up and be a factor. He's filling some big shoes. Marquise had done a great job to this point, so we're calling him. He's going to play a little bit different, a little different style to him, and but we're really counting him to come through.
And could Jordan Brooks figure into replacing Bruce in some way, or?
Yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that stuff when I have to talk about it. I don't have to right now, but this is it's if you notice, Jordan's getting some reps in here, and we're ready for him to play, and we're looking forward. So when the opportunity arises, he'll be right in the middle of our thinking. That's a pretty vague way of saying that, right? Good. Well done.
Corbin?
Hey, Pete, all week long you were talking about the challenges of trying to slow down Cam Newton and all the running backs the Patriots have back there. Managed to hold them to under 70 rushing yards, less than 3 yards per carry. What was your thoughts on the interior defensive line? Seems like you got some very valuable reps out of Anthony Rush and Brian Monet in this game.
Yeah, it worked out really well. The running backs had 20 yards, in the game, and Cam had the rest of it. So that way we went into, they had just rushed for 220 or whatever the heck it was, and I was thinking that they would, they loved the way they started off and they would try to do it again. They kind of started that way and it just didn't stay with it as they saw some other opportunities, I guess. But our guys did a really, really good job in the middle and up front. It's nice to see Anthony Rush is a big kid. He weighs 360 and plays like it. And I thought that Brian had his best game for us and just doing what we're counting on him to do. So that's a boost to go along with Puna and Jay Reed. So that combination there, I feel really good about it now at an early stage of the season, that those guys can contribute and they can make us big and stout inside. You saw the effects of it. It was a really good game for us in the middle.
Ben?
Hey, Pete, as great as Jamal Adams is, how much room for growth do you see for him, particularly in coverage and
There's a lot of room for him, and he's the first to tell you. He's such an active football player that sometimes his active can take him chasing some stuff that he needs to ignore at times. And so I love the way he plays. We're just going to keep coaching like crazy to get it right. He's going to make plays in all phases of the game. But he's got to clean some things up, and he knows it. He's asked to do a lot of stuff in our scheme, and so. He's not just playing strong safety sitting on the line of scrimmage. He's all over the place, and it would be taxing for anybody. And so he's got to clean up. And when really losing Quandre was a big deal to us. Quandre's been a fantastic player for us in the short time we've had him. He's just been so steady and so consistent and all that. That forced a couple different moves to happen, and Marquise going down, just took us a couple steps down into the depth chart there, and we didn't respond as well as we liked to. There was just some plays that got away. On a really good throwing team that knew what they were doing and the quarterback was on fire, it made it hard on us. And so we'll definitely clean some things up this week, and we need to get better. We need to play better.
Brady?
Hey, Pete, is Trey Flowers okay? We saw him leave the game with looked like he was getting his hand checked out.
Yes, somehow we had 3 guys that had dislocated fingers in this game. We couldn't figure out what was going on with that one, but he and Jamal and somebody else had one too. So that's what it was. So the guys come back really quick from that. They come back and can play from that with that.
Okay, and then could you clarify with Marquise and Bruce? Are those ACL injuries?
Yep. Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Joe?
Pete, one of the drives that Jordan was in, there were a couple quick passes to Rex Burkhead. Were they targeting him there? Were both those plays on him, or did I miss see that?
I don't think so. I don't think that's why that happened. You know, I'd be surprised if it did.
And then just it's been really limited, but in the 16 snaps he's had in 2 games, is there any takeaway you can have from him?
The takeaway is that he's ready to play, and he's gonna have to struggle through some first time player type of things that happen to him, but he's so well equipped. He's so fast. He's really smart. He's natural. It's just stuff, it's just football stuff that can happen in formations and shifts and stuff like that, and calls that we make and all that restrict any young guy. But he is not having a problem. He's not having any issues learning. He's not held back. It's just things that happen for the first time. You might get a first time response at times, but I'm really excited about him playing. I can't wait for you guys to see how mobile he is, his instincts and his willingness to go for it. And he's really aggressive. And he hits like a ton of bricks too. So he's a really good ball player. We're just trying to bring him along. We were trying to bring him along slowly. Maybe now we have to get him a little bit more work, but he's ready to do that and excited about that. Mentality is good and tough and strong. And I mean, there's no reservations other than it's new. That's all.
Tim?
Pete, when you went back and watched the film, did Russell's efficiency last night look as good as it seemed as the game was going on?
Yeah, he was on it. I thought that what was so positive about the game last night was the pass protection was so solid that you saw Russell in command of the rhythm, and he was able to, at times when things didn't look open enough for him, he bought more time, and he used that to throw it, and he also used that to run really effectively. And I think those scrambles, the 40 yards he gets us in scrambles, is so valuable. I mean, it's just back-breaking plays. You feel like you got the guy stopped, and then they take off and run and hit it like the touchdown to Tyler. A couple other plays he made in the throwing game, but then his runs were really effective. So I'm really excited about that connection with our guys up front and Russ feeling the timing and the security in the pocket. I think it's the best we've looked in some time, and I think that's why you see Russ off to such a good start. Russell's always been able to kill you when he sits in the pocket and he has time and he has space. We've not been as good protection-wise over the years as we would like. He's had to move, more purposefully than now. He really can do it kind of as he needs to, and hopefully we can keep growing and stay consistent and keep that working. I think he's just as big a threat as he's ever been right now.
What do you attribute the better pass pro to this time around, especially considering you were introducing 3 new starters?
Yeah, well, the guys are doing really well. Honestly, they're doing well. Brandon Shell's a good player, and he's holding up. He's been really consistent so far. Damian is doing a fine job too. He's a really good athlete for the position, even though there's newness there. He's got great feel for it, and he's really tough and really strong and all that. And Posick is playing well, and so Ethan has given us a transition that was better than you might have thought, with the new guy coming, just because he's been a student of the game since he's been here, and he really helps in that regard. And maybe there's a little LSU thing going on here with center and the guard. I don't know, but they're communicating really well, and I just think that plus the rhythm of the throwing game is really at a good spot right now, and so we'll just try to keep it rolling.
Art?
Pete, regarding Taylor on injured reserve, could you clarify, what did you guys know the severity of that surgery at draft day, or did he have a setback since the draft?
We had him in here and we felt like we had a good feel for it, but in his workouts, that we saw on video, that he was working out well. He had a period in there. He was down in Tennessee and was getting a rhythm to his workouts, and then they kicked him out of the facility for the COVID stuff, and he had to go on his own. And there was a time in there, as he tells it, that he just lost his rhythm of his workouts, and we kind of, it just wasn't as monitored as we would like it. If he'd have been here, it would have been entirely different. We weren't able to keep him here, he seemed that it didn't progress as well as we thought it was. It had a chance to, and he didn't have the guidance that he needed, and so I think that's probably as much of the impact of why it's been longer than we thought. He did not have a full-on steady program. For instance, like Will Dissly did. Will had a great program every day, with big-time professionals doing it and all that. And I don't think that Daryl had that available to him, from what I understand. And so it's caused an issue in his return.
Masvidal.
Hey, Pete, I was just wondering what you saw out of the running backs. You were able to get all three of them. But not only the passing, the catching and the running the ball, but blocking, because I know that's a critical part of the offense. And how was their pass protection?
There was one play in there where we got knocked around a little bit. Basically, the guys did a really good job. I love the style of our runners. I love the way these guys bring it. All three guys have a real attitude about it. You've seen it already in 2 weeks. You can tell that our guys are downhill running. They're explosive. They're physical. They're all catching the ball. And the point that you're making about protection, there was a play in there. But other than that, the guys have really done their job pretty well. And we can continue to get better and all that. And we will as we're working, as we get in the rhythm of the season and all that. I think we'll get better. But I love the way they're playing. And, it doesn't matter who's in. They have their own little knack about the way they do it. And right now, they look really good. And I think the position is in really good hands right now.
Thanks.
John Boyle.
Yeah, Pete, on the final play, both Jamal and LJ were really talking about the way Bobby Wagner kind of knew it was coming and got everybody, going the right way and everything. We see Bobby's playmaking all the time, but how big is his ability, what he can do pre-snap, and how he can kind of get the whole defense going the right way?
Yeah, that play in particular really speaks to what you're talking about, because he had to go in the huddle and tell them something that they hadn't heard before, and when he did, he conveyed it, and he had to wait to make the call, and he makes the call, and everybody executed it just right. It was really a masterful demonstration of his control and the impact that he has on those guys, because he was able to tell those guys something. They had to wait for a call. He made the call, and they executed it. Every single guy was on it. So somehow he got that word across. And you're talking 15 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever the heck it was in there. Maybe it couldn't have been more than 30, and to pull off a play that was executed perfectly like that needed to be at that time was, it shows the respect they have for him. It shows his command of the game, and I think it's an illustration of what you're asking. He is a real pro, but it's more than just what he can do. It's really the relationship and the respect he has from the other guys. When he says something, they do it, and that's so valuable. That's just such a valuable attribute. It's why he's been such a good player, and he's done as he has.
When you say tell him something they hadn't heard, is that what LJ was saying about having the whole line slant one way, or is that something else?
Did LJ tell you that? What in the heck? See, that's a young guy talking to the media. Yeah. Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Nico.
I got to talk to LJ.
Hi, Biggie.
Hey, what's up?
Just wondering, it seemed like, if I'm not mistaken, the Patriots were 7 for 12 on third down conversions. Is there a particular reason what they were so successful on third down? Anything that you can point to?
Yeah, they're pretty darn good at it, and it's because they have the quarterback back there that can run, and they have, if you looked again, remember last week, I think they had run 8 out of 10 times on third down, and those weren't all third and shorts, although their offense is getting them in some third and shorts, but it's that dual threat, almost triple threat that he has, because he can run it after the pass situation, gives them the opportunity to scramble. But they have a big offense right there, and they're very difficult. Like the Ravens, very difficult teams because the quarterbacks are so apt to run the football. And, do you cover them up? Or do you pressure them, and make yourself vulnerable to other things? It's a very, very difficult set of variables they have working for them. They're good at it. So, not everybody's going to be able to run like that. But the guy we're playing this week can too. So, we're up against it again. So we'll see.
Thanks, Steve.
Michael Sean.
Pete, why do you think you guys have given up so many passing yards the first couple weeks?
Well, they've thrown it like 80 times in the first 2 games, or 90 times in the first 2 games. I think that's part of it. I think that this is an offense that I don't know that, but I would think they came in to run the football, and they didn't stay with that, and they just decided to get away from it. So, and part of it's playing good run defense, average 2.7 of rush. So you can see that wasn't maybe in the cards for them to stay with it, but. Seen a lot of plays. We've given up too many explosives, particularly in the catch-up mode, that we've been in. We got to do a better job there. We have to execute better. We gave away I don't know, maybe 80, 100 yards in situations there that we didn't need to give up, and we have to play cleaner. And we're just going to keep working at it. There were some mistakes that were made, and some of it was the newness and guys not seeing things, together. All stuff that we can definitely get better at. But you can feel both games were kind of similar in that regard. It felt like the other team felt like they're behind, and they played like that, and they threw it like that, and that's part of the impact and the dynamics of having an offense that's been really productive in the first couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Curtis?
Hey, Pete, you mentioned how much you've kind of liked Brian being upstairs. What have you liked about it specifically, the tangible aspect of how it plays out, the communication from up there, how we've seen it? What's kind of clicked for him being upstairs for these 2 games?
Well, first off, let me go back. When the reason that we talked about that in the offseason, it just dawned on me that when I went to San Francisco, George Seifert wanted me to be upstairs, and I had never been upstairs before, and calling defenses. And when I went up there, I kind of reluctantly, because I love the game, want to be on the sidelines. That's probably no surprise, and all that. When I went up there, it was like there's a whole different world. It's a whole different world sitting upstairs. And Brian had been up years ago, quite a while ago, and so I just told him that's what I want him to do. And now that we can communicate so directly with the quarterback, he said, great, I'll do it. And he would tell you right now, we've only got a couple games plus the mock games we had under his belt, but he feels like he's in great command of what's going on. And if you can imagine, when you're sitting upstairs and you're watching the placement of the ball, the play happens, and you can see that the ball's on the hash mark and it's 3rd and 4 or 2nd and 5 or whatever it is, instead of somebody having to tell you that when you're on the side. 'Cause on the sidelines, you can't tell, and most of the time you're kind of half guessing, and you can see all that happening as well as see the substitutions happening without somebody having to tell you. Everything processes much more clearly and much more facilitates what you need to know with gathering the information. So, he's really comfortable with it, and obviously it's working out well. And he and Russ are really on hitting on all cylinders, and so it's a great start to it, to that transition.
Last question, Brady Henderson.
Hey Pete, I was just curious what you thought of all the major injuries across the NFL this weekend. It seemed like it was a pretty significant spike, and wondering if you think there's any correlation between that and not having a normal ramp up with no OTAs, minicamp, preseason, all that.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Brady. I'm totally on that. We're doing some studies right now to try to figure it out, just to compare. It looks like that. It looks like the fact that it's game 2 after game 1, first time you played a real game, and you had to have the recovery period, that you had to deal with, and then go back out and do it again. It looked like guys came out and they were a little bit more vulnerable, or whatever. Because there's more injuries. I don't know. We'll find out the numbers between week 1, week 2, in the last couple of years, and we'll know that. But I'm kind of conflicted, because I know in college, you do the same thing, and I don't remember week 2 being a tremendous weekend for injuries and all that. So I don't know, but we're on it just for the same reasons. It just looked like a lot of significant players got hurt, and a number of pass rushers got hurt, edge pass rushers in particular. A couple of skill guys too. Now there's a big difference between the injuries like Marquise and Bruce. They had 2 totally different settings. One guy got whacked and boloed, and when that happens, that's an accident. And another one is when you're in kind of an open field situation and you put your foot in the ground and you get that wobble in your knee. That's a whole different ACL injury there. So we're going to try to figure it out, because we're concerned too. We're interested in all that. It did appear like thumbs up. It was a great run on. I'm sorry.
And who in your organization leads the charge on studying something like that?
Yeah, we have our performance guys who are all doing it. We have a whole group of guys that are working on that to make sure that they're ongoing. They never stop, never sleep. Research and development. They're always going.
Thank you, everyone.
Good. See you guys.